Shall we talk about Beethoven?
Yes, we shall talk about Beethoven. So here we are again, another another day, another famous last
Another,
words, another dead composer.
another? Do we have one already?
Well, no, but there are a lot of dead composers.
Yeah. You know what you call a dead composer?
But
Decomposer.
wow,
You almost smiled there.
I did, but I
I know.
didn't. It's a little Mona Lisa
Yeah.
ish.
So
Yeah,
the
his is
interesting thing,
his is a good one.
well, it's interesting because Beethoven, I think the way the story opens with the thing about Symphony Hall in Boston sort of
Right.
shows that everyone thinks he's a genius, but also it seems like not a lot of people liked him.
No, it's not necessarily, but most geniuses are not likable. That is the
Right.
trade-off. You can be brilliant or you can be nice and
And in the
fun.
interest of time, I cut out a lot of the really weird things about him, which is, I think, the thing that makes him all the more interesting. Like everyone
Yes,
knows he's deaf or was deaf,
yes, they do.
but apparently he didn't like to bathe or change clothes much,
Well,
to the point that when he would like undress, get into bed, friends would sneak into his room, swap out his clothes for something clean and or not completely ratty, and he would just
that's
get up the next morning and get dressed and not notice.
wow. Those are really good friends.
Yeah. And so I think it's a sign that he was so focused on the music, question mark.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the wine, clearly.
Right. Well, there's the again, it's sort of that thing where like the Steve Jobs sort of brilliant of like, I don't want to think about what I have to wear. This is
Well,
below
and
me.
that's fair.
So maybe
I'm
Beethoven
creating
was
Moonlight Sonata, which is
mhm,
probably my favorite piece of all time.
sure.
And not just because of Gary Oldman with his head on the piano, although that is the greatest scene in the movie. And when I think of Beethoven, all I think of.
Is Gary Oldman, right.
Yes, but now you've ruined it
Thank you.
because of the
Well, but
clothing. But still, but
I
but
think I think most people in that era probably did not smell the greatest.
correct. But that's what makes me feel this is like exceptionally bad. Like since nobody
Mm,
really smelled good,
right.
if you smelled so bad that I had to sneak in your room at night and change your clothes so you wouldn't put the same ones on, not only would
Right.
I be a way better friend than I really am, but
Yeah, true.
secondly, that would be like a really bad problem.
Yeah, this is true. That it's bad enough that those who already smell bad would remark upon it.
Correct. Like
Well,
when
look
the
at
whole
Stinky Pants
world
over there.
smelled awful, right?
Yeah,
And you are deemed the smelly one,
yeah.
you better be brilliant.
And like the thing with the hair, like he always looks very
Yes.
mad and it's very again, didn't like to cut it, didn't like to do much with
Well,
it.
I
It-
mean, that I get. That just feels like a musician,
yeah, it kind of
especially
has
a
like
classical musician.
yeah, it sort of got a little bit of the little of the David Lynch going on. I
Right.
think that they perhaps the busts and portraits kind of do a little more with it than that.
They do. But he definitely always has a furrowed brow. There is no doubt.
This is true. Um, but he did have a sense of humor,
Of
apparently.
course.
His favorite prank was to hide behind open doors and jump out and scare his visitors.
I mean, that's lovely. We should start doing that.
Well, not all of them were great. Um, he also wrote he musically little humorous as well. Uh, wrote a song about his overweight violinist friend
Mm.
um, that was titled "In Praise of the Fat One."
Wow. Did he respond with, I hate you, smelly one?
No, but the lyrics in it, I'm going to butcher this guy's name because it's German. Um, Stuppenzig, I believe. Uh,
Okay.
it includes the line Stuppenzig is a rogue.
Mm.
Um, but the German word for rogue is lump, which is a lot funnier.
It is a lot funnier, but I do love the word rogue.
Yes. Well, then, if that sort of seems like a nice, swarthy kind of compliment,
Right.
the last line is, "We all agree that you are the biggest ass." So
You are the biggest ass or
you
you
are the
have the
biggest.
biggest
You
ass?
are.
Oh, well, I mean, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't
Um,
know. Could be worse. I thought it was going to be far worse.
That's not great.
Well, no, it's not kind, but if you're friends, I feel like friends call each other assholes all the time.
This is true.
And,
Um,
again, rogue is a good word. Lump,
yes,
not so much.
right. The other thing that I can't believe I only found out now and did not work into the story because I totally would have. He let me pull it up here. Um so he was a vocal student of Salieri's,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yes.
F or F. Murray Abraham. Should we just say that?
Correct. Yes. So when
Captain?
before you watch Immortal Beloved, you must watch Amadeus.
Yes. So there's this connection to them, which I did not realize.
Just
Um,
pretend he's not here.
I will try. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. In fairness, this particular moment, someone else barked first.
There is a
So
there is a squirrel. Ergo,
no, there is a large dog barking.
mm,
Who is the biggest ass? The
I
other
see.
dog for
Yes,
once.
right.
Usually Captain is the biggest ass, but okay. So vocal student.
So vocal student of Salieri, which is this
Mm-hmm.
interesting kind of like cross paths with Mozart,
Yes, with Wolfgang.
although they weren't actually rivals as the film and play portrayed
I
them,
know, but it's
but
so
it
good.
works. Um, the interesting thing, one of Beethoven's own students said that at some point Salieri had some critiques of one of Beethoven's pieces,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time said, I can't get it out of my head. To which Beethoven said, then, Herr Salieri, it cannot have been so utterly bad.
I mean, this is fair.
He,
And Kylie Minogue will have a huge hit with it centuries later.
well, because he can't get it out of his head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, and then
But don't you think like some of it, like with those films, both of those films are, I feel, outstanding films,
right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Historically accurate, yeah, you know. But don't you feel like to romanticize those composers is absolutely acceptable?
Well, they're from that era where everything is sort of romanticized.
Right.
And,
So why wouldn't you,
right. And I mean, I think
you
it's the same
know,
thing the way everyone just assumes Bridgerton is. I mean, I look at some of this stuff and so it's got to have been like Bridgerton.
that is what you choose to compare it to.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I mean, the other one I was going to say, I don't know if you saw the film Chevalier.
I've seen part of it, but I'm anxious to watch the rest of it because I feel I
Okay,
will enjoy it.
winning review. So similarly,
Busy.
but again, it's sort of overly romanticized, perhaps, or composers just like to. How did you put it the other day?
Have a romp.
Have a romp. Composers
Mm-hmm.
love to have a romp.
Well, they do. I mean, I think that is historically accurate.
And actually, Chevalier, it'd be composer and musician. I guess you could say
Right.
the same of
For
Beethoven
yeah,
and
probably of all
Mozart.
of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bach definitely did with the 20
Well,
kids.
I mean, clearly. But I feel like
His
his romps weren't as fun.
his house was probably a bit of a romper room.
It was a romper room
Yeah.
and all definitions of the word.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. It's why I have to imagine Gary Oldman.
I know. I get that. The other thing that's interesting that I did so apparently he also rented his room. So he didn't marry, which I did not realize.
No, well, if you watched the film with Gary Oldman, you would know that.
Okay, well, whatever. But he did rent out rooms in his house. Although apparently that did not stop him from composing in the middle of the night. So
Oh no, it wouldn't, because I mean,
yeah.
he doesn't know if people are awake or not because he can't hear. And he's a brilliant composer. And when the mood strikes, you compose.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the lease. I mean, you just got to know that going in.
This is true. It just still seems like a big surprise. As far as the
Well, I
lease
mean, if it's
goes,
what the, well, I don't know. What would be that would it be like Ode to Joy might wake you up.
Yes. He did was kicked out of one apartment after he had got a stonemason to make a hole in the wall and put a window in so he could get a nice view.
I mean, I find these things are acceptable behavior in that era.
Well, here's the last one I found that was sort of interesting.
Yes.
Again, to go with the smelling bad and sort of seeming a little nutty.
Which the window would have helped the smelling bad, so that would have helped air it out when he moved.
Well, speaking of that, so he did once get arrested in the Vienna suburbs because he got lost, and his way to figure out where he was to start looking in people's windows. And they ended up arresting him, and it was only when another composer was brought in to be like, oh, hey, that's Beethoven. Not great.
No, but composers must like to get arrested after they romp.
This is true. Oh, after you romp?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes depends who you're romping with.
I guess that's very, very true.
You know.
And then obviously, when you think Beethoven, you think Immortal Beloved. Is the vibe I'm getting.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's a really profound statement you just came up with there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the interesting thing, obviously no one knows who the Immortal Beloved was.
Correct.
But they believe they figured out, is it pronounced
was the wine?
Fur Elise? Fur Elise?
I believe so. I think it's Fur Elise. No, it's an umlaut, so it's got to be Fur. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll ask,
one.
We'll call the guys from Husker Du and get their opinion.
Or Motley Crue. I feel we could call Tommy Lee and ask him. Or we could call Rachel, German Rachel.
I'd rather call Tommy Lee.
I'd rather call Tommy Lee too. And I don't even think she'd fault me for saying that.
Yeah, I don't think so. So it's believed that it was written about one of his piano students because Elise was her nickname.
That makes sense. I mean,
and apparently he was wildly in love with her.
Oh dear.
Falling in love with your piano students, you know how it is.
I mean, it never works out well.
And my favorite sentence in this story about this, they said, he suddenly began to care about his appearance and putting his best foot forward, which was slightly, emphasis in the article, off-brand for a guy who was wholly committed to just doing his thing. Wow. I love that that's how not bathing is, just doing your thing.
It's just doing your thing. That's good. I mean,
I should say that to the kids. Like, hey, how long have you guys just been doing your thing?
Right.
Thursday? Okay. Yeah, I think it's time to change your thing.
I just can't wait for one of them to be like, well, it was good enough for Beethoven.
Right.
I mean, look what he did.
Right.
I'm going to compose greatness.
Storming upstairs.
Yes. Fantastic.
I mean, this number, you're a jerk, like that. Is that
right. Yes, exactly. I have very distinct memories of Shirley's, like many memories of it, like people taking piano lessons from my mother and all of this. But there was a commercial when we were kids. Was it the Memorex commercial where someone is sitting at the piano playing it, and they used to air it all the time?
I think the one I always get is I believe it's Mozart, and it's a McDonald's commercial where the girl's playing her piano recital.
Oh,
and she's singing along in her head, like, all I wanted, I can't wait to go to McDonald's. And the only part I remember is the also whoops and also fries.
Yes.
As she was playing.
Yes. But that's what I think of with the other one.
Yeah. So Beethoven.
And I mean, in the fifth, all I think of is the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. And also Robin Thicke's first single, which he took a bad path, but that was amazing, that song.
It's interesting. Every time I think Beethoven, I think Clockwork Orange.
Well, okay, that's good too.
And I do sort of want to just keep calling him my beloved Ludwig van.
I mean, right.
But then that leads you down a whole path of doing
your
own thing.
There's a whole other path of doing your own thing that is not good.
So you got to make up your Zoodox to
an anti-bathing, right? Yeah. Was all it was.
Yes.
See, I like I just have to keep it in my little head on the piano. Bella Rossellini peeking out of the closet.
the one thing I just found out, so in the scene early in Clockwork Orange, when Alex goes to the market or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and he's at the record store, and you can see Magical Mystery Tour there, and then
Mm-hmm.
Pink Floyd's Animals is on the. Apparently, somebody, I just saw this, so but it must have been spotted sooner, at least in the 2K edition or 4K or whatever it was. You can see Sparks as one of the bands listed.
Really?
Yes, under around on the wall with the Animals cover. Sparks is listed as one of the things Alex was interested in.
I mean,
So,
can't decide if it's good or not, but I like that they're getting. I mean, the things he was interested in are good for the most part.
yeah, for the most part. Having everyone agree with you that they want to do those things.
Not that
Yeah.
great.
If everyone is down to romp, then romp they
Then
shall.
right. But
Um,
everyone should love Sparks
this
and
is
Magical
true.
Mystery Tour.
Right. And
So
it's not, I'm sorry, it's not Animals. What's the name of the record now? Adam Hart Mother. I'm sorry.
it's all
I led
right.
us all astray.
You did. It's
One
okay.
with the cow on the cover,
Yes.
Adam Hart Mother. Thank you.
Mhm.
But Elise, as we were saying,
Yes. Good old Elise.
when he decided to stop just doing his thing and bathe,
Yes. Yes.
she invited him over for a dinner party so he could meet parents. So this was
Oh
getting
boy.
somewhere.
Yeah.
He was so nervous he dropped a glass ball that shattered and then drank too much punch, is what this piece said. And then when he was asked to play his new song, he was unable to perform. And her parents were like, you can end the horse you came in on, basically.
Oh,
And he
that's
never
not
saw her again.
well, that's okay.
But apparently, so he wrote it and gave it to her and was just like, hey, here, I wrote this for you. This is his version of Lady in Red or what have you.
Yes.
Because when I think Beethoven, I'm
You
trying to
think
think of comparables
you
so
think
we
of
can all,
Christopher. I don't
yes.
know. I might have gone with basically anything written for Patty Boyd, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah,
We
no.
can go with
We can
Lady.
say Wonderful Tonight. We can
We
say
can Christopher all
Layla.
you want.
I prefer Lady in Red. So he
How
gave it to her.
about something?
Fine. Sinatra's favorite Lennon McCartney song is something.
It's
Anyway,
yeah.
so he wrote this private piece for his Lady in Red.
I really feel like we need to correct that for the masses, but it's okay.
What? The
Something.
joke? The joke?
Yes. Yes.
Believe it or not, Sinatra is not a Beatles fan. And
Yeah.
whenever he was asked what was his favorite Lennon McCartney
I
song,
yes.
he responded with George Harrison's Something.
Thank you.
Consider the record corrected, Your Honor.
Yes. Written for Patty Boyd.
Right. Please inform the jury to disregard that.
I don't know why I felt the need for that one. I think because it was Sinatra.
Yeah.
I felt people take the chairman of the board at his word.
Well, Sinatra was singing and all the drunks, they were swinging.
Right.
So, but he took this piece that he wrote for Elise.
Yes.
And she put it in her papers. And when she died in 1851, that's when somebody found it.
That's kind of cool.
And it wasn't even published until 1867. So both of them were long
gone.
Yeah. And then that's when everyone heard it. It's kind of fascinating.
That is fascinating.
And then I'm going to guess after blowing it with
Elise,
his special lady friend's parents, he went right back to doing his thing.
I would imagine.
If not increasing the doing of his thing.
Probably.
So
but
it's weird. I feel like any composer, there's always these sort of weird things about them. And maybe
that's what I was going to say. It's like it's weird, but it's not that weird because he's a brilliant composer. Much like brilliant authors. I feel composers and artists
in general, right?
In general, all really fucked up.
Right.
The more brilliant you are, the crazier you are.
And I think also there is that Venn diagram or bar chart of genius and also just horrible human being.
Oh, absolutely.
That these very often go hand in hand.
Which is the great struggle of life, is separating
True.
the art from the artist.
And I guess separating your own thing from your art.
Right. I mean, whatever your own thing may be.
Right. Well, this is why I think George Clinton once said, I got a thing, you got a thing, everybody's got a thing.
Exactly.
He also, to one other fun fact about Beethoven
Yes.
that I think is love, and this is something that I think my mother-in-law in particular would really love.
Okay.
So he was obsessed with soup and food.
Okay.
There's some sort of bread pudding soup that he always ate on Thursdays. Gets worse,
okay.
with 10 eggs on a separate plate.
Mm-mm.
Should I keep going?
No, yeah, but it's disgusting.
Oh, it's going to get worse.
Okay.
So he would carefully examine the eggs, break them, then sniff them before stirring them into his bread pudding.
Okay, that sounds disgusting, but if were I in a world where I ate eggs,
right,
which I don't,
yep, me too.
I would investigate that
every single one of
specifically.
them.
I would. So I can't even feel that's what. Have you ever seen me when I sit down at a table? What I do with the silverware?
I've not noticed.
I inspect every piece of silverware for any spot, any sort of thing, any glass. Is there anything floating in it? Any plate, any spot on a plate? And I can't handle it when I'm given dirty silverware.
So you have to check to see if the silverware has a thing.
I do. And
Okay.
guess what? I don't know if it is just the gods like just punishing me because I have this problem,
Probably,
or
but go
whether
on.
like cutlery is just exceptionally filthy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's going to be dirty silverware or plates or glasses at a table, it will be at my place setting.
I am now going to make this mental note and make sure I'm going to have you over for dinner.
Yeah.
The knife that used to be in the peanut butter goes to you. Anyway.
Thanks.
So after, if this sort of weird thing with the soup was, and this is the thing that I find
And was it sweet? If it was bread pudding soup, was it a sweet soup?
I don't know. I'm assuming also this guy's dental work was not the best.
Well,
his dental habits.
Whose were?
Yeah, I don't think he's got a flosser just in between meals, just
I know.
cleaning that out. But he, at one point, again, when it comes to being nutty, fired a cook for lying. Because he said anyone who tells a lie has not a pure heart and cannot make good soup.
I mean, these are words to live by.
They really are. He also, and I'm not a coffee guy, so I don't want to say I don't know if this is a lot, but I'm assuming it is. Mm-hmm. And I'm 90% certain it is. He felt that 60 coffee beans made the perfect cup. And he would count them out to make sure he got a 60.
Yeah, he would have all sorts of diagnoses in this day and age.
Yeah, he did probably have IBS or some sort of intestinal issues.
Well, yeah, because he had cirrhosis of the liver.
Right, but I'm sure the amount of coffee he was consuming on a daily basis.
And the eggs.
Bread pudding and 10 eggs.
Of course.
In one sitting? Oh.
Whew.
Even if you eat one meal a day, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of nasty things.
I will only eat an egg if it's like in a fried rice.
Oh, I won't do that, but I will
really?
eat I will
if
eat
they chop it up small enough, No,
I know it's there. I can do an omelet that has a lot of peppers and jalapenos and maybe chorizo in it and tons of hot sauce.
Okay.
But I fully admit you will see like all of those insides gone and most of the egg part still there, but I will consume some of it and I will eat eggs all day if they are baked into cookies.
Well, yes.
But eggs in their natural habitat of being eggs,
No, just the smell of the hard boiled is the one that just gets me right here. Yeah, it's right.
And
right
the texture. No, and like the poach or like when it's like over easy meat, whatever, and it like people dip the toast in it.
Oh, get that out of here. Get that thing out of here.
Never.
Should we say?
Never.
That's not our thing.
That is definitely not our thing.
So I think we've slagged Beethoven off enough.
I know, but we have, but we also like I'm still celebrating him.
Well, I think the interesting thing about him, about all of these things, and it really felt like just a rundown of here's all these weird things about this dude,
Right.
about all of his different things, that even though he had his own things,
Mm-hmm.
his musical brilliance is enough to sort of supersede all of that.
I mean, it really is. Like I know he's the
And I
heavy
know we
hard one
couldn't
that
smell
everybody.
him today, but we
No,
probably could if we really wanted to. Let's be honest.
we probably could. We probably could find a place or a person that smells much like him.
Yeah, or just him. I feel like might
Yeah, he
linger for
might.
in the curtains
Yeah,
or something.
that's
You know,
true. Yeah, he's probably lurking there.
does he have
Yeah,
curtains? I do love the fact that maybe if he came back as a ghost, his ghost would just be peeking in people's windows,
looking like Gary Oldman.
being like, "Where the hell am I?"
I know, be great. He didn't do that in Bill and Ted's. Wait, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Bill and Ted.
Well, let's get the makers of that film on the
Can we
blower, and
please? Because there
yes,
are a
that would
lot of
be
people that I feel we should talk about that are in that
yes.
film.
And finally, good sir, I don't believe it was pronounced Socrates.
I know. So good. It's just so good. And it did so much for people of our generation to actually have an interest in history.
Yes, the Iron Maiden, for example.
Yes. I mean, come on.
We everyone would thought it would be excellent, but it turns out to be bogus.
It does turn out to be bogus. So
Yeah.
true. We should find about my birthday, my composers with things. We should at some point my birthday twin.
Remind me.
Well, there are many, but from the composer aspect,
Right.
Franz Liszt.
I'm just going to take a stab in the dark, and I will look this up for next week. Smelly racist.
But I want to talk about him like being like everyone thinking he was hot.
Sure. Listomania, which, if you're looking for a film,
yes,
Listomania is pretty good.
it is good. But
And it's not that far off the truth, which is the thing that's fascinating.
see,
apparently he was sort of like Beatlemania, but in one guy with the power.
Right. That's what makes why I love him. I don't want to talk about being a smelly racist.
Right.
I want to talk about like first idol, not idol, you know what I mean? First.
Right. Oh, I thought you said thirst. Star. Right.
Well, he is. He's like, yes.
Yeah, his thirst measures. I get you.
Right.
Yeah. Thirst odes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you would call them. Thirst refrains.
I don't know.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? Friends?
Romans.
Yeah.
Countrymen.
Yeah.
We're not going to Julius Caesar because everybody knows his.
Yeah. It's about the salad. Do we go with our other European friend?
Yeah, probably.
Or do we break up sort of women with, not
yeah. I don't know. We have just the two left, right?
We have three left.
Oh.
We have the one I bring up every week.
My favorite.
That is correct.
Yes.
We have our, I believe, Polish actress.
Right. Those are the two I'm thinking of. Who's the one?
And then we have our Bermudan friend.
Oh, she's awesome.
Who may be our friend, not a friend to most of the people in Bermuda.
Right.
So.
Right. But, well, yeah. Do
we go with her to just sort of like.
Yeah, she's badass.
Take it up. And yeah, because I feel like she was one that we found late in the game of putting this whole show together.
Yeah.
And we're both like, oh my God, this woman's amazing.
Yeah.
She needs to be celebrated immediately and often.
Then let's do her.
Okay, there we go.